How unprofessional is that? Hey, sorry about that. Right, but we are here. We are here for the preview for round 3 of the FIA Formula 1 World Championship. Yes, we are here for the preview of the Portuguese Grand Prix at the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao. I haven't had a chance to look at FP1 or FP2, so we're going to go through that together because obviously I've been busy doing my other streams today. But we are going to have a quick look at that with the timing sheets, sort of work out what we're going to expect from this Grand Prix, as well as look at other aspects into because there's loads of news stories coming out as well. We've got the checker flag show at 6 p.m. How we're going to fit all those main talking points that I want to talk about in an hour, I don't know, but we're going to do that. But make sure, please, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the share button, right? Share it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, do it, right? But let's get into this. So, everyone, yeah, please.
Really helps us out. Thanks.
It helps us out. Then go smash that like button and subscribe button. So here we go. Let's go into the Portuguese Grand Prix. So, just gonna have a look. Portuguese Grand Prix. I'm just gonna have a look at the circuit once, for example. So we're gonna quickly share this screen. So, Autodromo International do Algarve, right? Its first ever Grand Prix was obviously last season with the mad rush of getting some sort of season together after the pandemic hit. Obviously, we were all supposed to be planning to go racing in Australia last year. If you haven't watched the Formula 1 Drive to Survive series, go to check that out. And then obviously with the COVID, people testing positive, it all got cancelled. The Grand Prix was cancelled. Everything was cancelled until we got back into and got some sort of championship started in Austria, and all those races were added on top. And this is one of them. This will be in a game, as well as the Sakia circuit next season, which I'm pretty happy about. But it's a very sort of fast, but also technical circuit. You've got a couple of good hairpins. The main overtaking position is going to be this part here, the back straight, because you come out of turn 14, turn 15 is pretty much flat, and you go, it's sort of weird camber. So you go uphill and down, the curve goes downhill. So, and that's the thing, there's a lot of cambered corners around here because of the elevation changes. I'd love to see if I can get the Algarve elevation change. So right, just having a quick look. So do give me a second. So yeah, right, here we go. So let me just bring that down for a minute. Do hit the like button, do hit the share button, please. Right. Do hit that subscribe button as well. Please do that now. I'm also going to put the link in the chat as well. So if you do want to come on, have your say on the F1 and all those matters, please do. Right, so yeah, put the link in there. Hey Retro, yeah, I'm alright, man. I'm doing okay. So Autodrome Estoril. So this is the same circuit as it's the same circuit as this. Is this basically the Estoril circuit? Surely not. This the Estoril circuit. Yeah. Nah, that's a different circuit altogether. Yeah, that's a different circuit altogether. Yeah, that's different. So my bad. Go back to it. So if we look at this image here, you can see, look, the elevation changes. So the last corner, turn 14, it's there, elevation change. It goes downhill for turn 15. Then after turn 3 up to 4, it goes up and then goes up and then up and up. And this is where you see the most camber bits here. Look at the camber going uphill as you're turning into turn 11. So very tricky circuit to be able to. It's a bit like the Dutch Grand Prix, at Zandvoort. Zandvoort has a lot of elevation changes, so it's going to be more about who's got the better traction in wheel traction coming out the corners, which is going to be interesting, especially if they've limited the amount of downforce you can get from there. But obviously, it's not going to beat because of that. It's not going to beat Hamilton's pole position record or lap record of a 118.7. So just a bit of background. The Autodrome International do Algarve, no more commonly as Portimao, after the port city it sits half an hour outside of, was opened in the autumn of 2008. Construction of the permanent facility completed in just 7 months and cost of 195 million euros. Portimao joined the F1 calendar at a short notice amid the 2020's COVID-19 changes, having never previously hosted a Formula One Championship event. Prior to that, the track was used for F1 preseason testing in the winter in 08-09, while several drivers on the grid, including Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, and Valtteri Bottas, experienced the Portuguese Grand Prix during the Portuguese circuit during their junior careers. Rather like Austin's Circuit of Americas, Portimao is a modern venue with elevation change baked into its layout. So basically, what they did in I remember when they were building the American Grand Prix, and they were taking sort of corners that was similar, like you've got Beckett's type sort of style corners at the beginning of the first sector in American Circuit Americans. And Maggots and Beckett's are probably one of the best sequence of corners in Formula One, right? British Grand and at the British Grand Prix, which is a privilege to watch. I've watched these cars go through Maggots and Beckett's at full throttle, right, in where we were sitting, and my God, that's where you would see an F1 car come alive. But I like the Circuit Americas. What they've done is they've dug up the surface for certain parts to lay the road and the circuit layout, but they've also like created their own little mountain, like their little hill. So if you look at turn 1 if I had to just show quickly, right, so I'm just going to quickly stop this screen and share this new one. Do hit the like button. Do hit the share button, please. Right, please do that now. Just going to show you the elevation change. So you see the elevation change there. Look, goes down, then up. Also a bit here, goes up, right, down and up, right. So you can see that clearly there, the amount of elevation change, which is going to be very key. If you look at turn circuit of the Americas. So you look at the circuit of the Americas. This is what they're comparing it to. See, look, this is the elevation change. Look, from there all the way up. And what that basically does, if you, you've got a better picture here, look. So it creates a very good on my camera, which means that all the weight might be shifted move to the right, and it can, if an off-balance car on traction will always struggle to pick up traction and be able to take off because of the amount of unbalance in sort of the in the aero. So you want someone with good sort of aerodynamic stability and also a good sort of baseline in terms of traction. So Billy, how are you doing? I'm doing fine, mate. The link's in the chat. If you are interested in F1 and you do want to have your say, please do. But yeah, so you've got, this is how it really looks out. And like last year's season, right? I think the last season, what helped was the cold conditions. We're not going to have cold conditions like this for this Grand Prix because we're going into spring, the summer, and the European summer. So, in fact, so why go? What's the circuit like? So what's the circuit like? Like Austin in the Circuit of the Americas, it's a modern venue with that elevation change baked into its layout. Right, the Ricardo Pina designed 4.6 kilometer lap sends drivers swooping up and down Dale before culminating a plunge down to the final right-hander and a gulping leading back, a gulp leading back to the onto the pit straight. Why go? While the track itself is a world-class facility, it is in the Algarve, puts you squarely in one of Europe's most popular tourist destinations. Such a nice area. In fact, it's where Ayrton Senna you choose to set up his European home, just an hour down from the coast from the track in Almanseal. Watching F1 cars come steaming into double apex Aqua Minerale evoking Portimao corner is a sight to be seen. While parking yourself at any stand at the end of the main straight will give you a great view of turn one overtaking spot, because that is where your main's got to be. It's going to be it there alongside the front straight. The other straights ain't going to really make a difference. So we saw last year it definitely created opportunities. The cold weather temperatures didn't help. Will it create more opportunities? We're not sure, but all we can be sure is, like last time out, the gap is going to be very close. I mean, let's have a look at Right, so we're just going to look at FP1. So bear with me. I'm going to look at FP1 now and share it with you guys. Do hit the like button. Do hit the share button. Share it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Right, do that now, please. Share that now. I don't want to enter a Heineken for no. Bottas leads Verstappen in a close opening practice session at Portimao. Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen traded places at the top of the charts throughout FP1, but it was Bottas who ended up narrowly fastest in the first session of the 2021 Portuguese Grand Prix. Bottas equipped his W12 with soft tyres with 20 minutes remaining and set the benchmark time, improving it to an eventual fastest lap of a 1:19.6. So we're only 1.6 seconds off when it was supposed to be about 2 or 3 seconds down for the amount of time they were taking off the car. Verstappen, who arrived at Portimao with an upgraded RB16 car. If you watch my preview with, if you watch the preview that I did with Adam, he mentioned about updates. Red Bull have brought updates for this Grand Prix. They have brought a number of updates because they've seen the updates that Mercedes have got, and they've already caught them up. So now they're trying to get back the advantages they've had. The problem is it doesn't look like it, because the upgraded RB16B car developed a flat spot on his tyre late in the session and said his car was impossible to drive thanks to the vibrations. Despite that, the Dutchman finished just 0.025 seconds off. So the reason they were complaining about Hamilton finished 5th, 0.3 down by the checkered flag on the same C3 soft compounds. The reigning world champion was beaten by Charles Leclerc at 4th under a 1/10 of a second. That left Sergio Perez, who ran an aero rake in the early session, possibly testing the team's new parts, in third place with it 2/10 off Bottas's pace. So not a really great session for Hamilton. Pierre Gasly was 6th. George Russell a surprise 7th for Williams, so that's definite improvement. Yeah. Yeah, so not a great session for Hamilton in the first session. Maybe it's testing new parts, I don't know. But he seems to be lacking a little bit there. And if the problem is that I mentioned about vibrations, basically when the tire flat spots, it becomes like a 50p piece, right? You draw a round circle and then you just bore a little dent in the circle because you flat spotted it. And the problem is, once you flat spot on the tire, no matter how many times you lock up, it flat spots on the same place. It locks up in the same place and causes it even to be worse. And what that does is create vibrations in the car because it's not a smooth contact patch. So you're constantly getting these vibrations, and these vibrations are literally like to the point you can't. Some people have done vibrations in the car and they can't see where they're going because it's literally like shaking their eyes, so they can't see properly what's going on. So that's why they end up complaining about it. So to be only 0.5 seconds off is pretty darn good. Does that mean Red Bull's parts have been working? Possibly, but Verstappen didn't. I don't think ran those parts. It looked like that Perez was doing that. So that's sort of the first inkling you get from FP1. So and plus also as well, I'm also going to mention this as well, is that I'm just going to mention this as well, go back to it. I'm just going to go back to it for a second because I've got to report something out, is that Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher 18th was slower than his teammate. Mick Schumacher in 18th. Nikita Mazepin was dead last. Russell, it's basically Williams and Haas fighting out at the bottom of the championship in a minute. But the Formula 2 championship runner-up, who everyone says should be either replacing Giovinazzi or should be in Nikita Mazepin's seat, Callum Ilott, but because he hasn't got the backing of Nikita Mazepin, unfortunately, money talks. So he's going to get in, which sounds stupid. We do all this race for one, which is diversity, right? Equality, right? and promoting and being self-sustainable, everything. You do all that, but you've got a driver who would quite happily grope a woman on fucking video. You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. This guy's a prick. Should just piss off. 2020 Formula 2 Championship runner-up, Callum Ilott. Callum Ilott replaced Giovinazzi at Alfa Romeo for FP1. Ilott is now Alfa Romeo's official reserve driver. He finished 17th in his first F1 debut, so that's not great. But Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo was just 4/10 faster, finished 15th. But the two split by Sebastian Vettel 6. It's again Sebastian Vettel not having a great he's not having a great start to his season at all. Not at all. It's quite shocking, actually. But get your thoughts in. Get your. I want to know your predictions. What are you predicting for qualifying? What are you predicting for the Grand Prix itself? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Mercedes are going to catch Red Bull and do what they did in Bahrain? Do you think Verstappen's got it too much in hand over Hamilton and Bottas? Because we're still looking at this as a Hamilton-Bottas, Hamilton-Verstappen championship. So I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings. Right, I'd love to know your predictions. I'm going to make my own predictions. So FP2. If now, let me go to where are we going to go to? Sorry, I'm gonna have to go on the official website. Is it live? No, it's not live. It's done. It's done for the day. Of course, it's done for the day. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on now, would I? Plus, I want to make something up before we go any further. This day, on the 30th of March, 30 years ago, and I want to make this statement in this preview, so I want to be one of the first to say this. We will be releasing two drivers that ended up changing the safety of Formula One forever, right? To make it so safe. But unfortunately, we had to lose them. The first guy, most people, and it's so heartbreaking to hear, forget about this driver because of what happened the next day, right? In this weekend. Don't forget, in this weekend, the day before this guy died, we had Barrichello hitting a wall and nearly dying, right? Nearly dying. So you've got now Roland Ratzenberger on Saturday, who just was pleased to be in F1, had a horrible crash at Tamburello in Imola, where we were last time out. Now, people might see, where can you have that crash at such a terrible place at Tamburello, because it's a freeway chicane. It wasn't. It was a complete round. If you saw how where the barrier went round it, that's where the corner went, because it would go around in one massive long turn, and you needed to be all the downforce you needed and be full throttle. He went past that and went down to where their now chicane is, the second chicane is, because that's where he had his accident and went off. And it killed him pretty much there and then. Even the footage was showing him doing, I think, resuscitation whilst he's in the car. Yeah, so he was the rarest of characters, charismatic yet humble, shy yet vivacious, able to climb the ladder without breeding enmity. His life was his life dedicated and ultimately surrendered to his singular passion of motor racing. He was born in 1960, a relative latecomer to the sport. He only began establishing his name 23 years later in Ferrari's Formula 4 championships. He achieved notable success and by 1985 had won the Austrian, German, and European titles. A year later, added the prestigious Formula 4 Festival crown, qualifying on pole and holding off a Dodge race-long assault from Felipe Varve. 2 sessions of the British Formula 3 followed, which the first of which was with a Surrey race team. Can you turn that off, please? Can you turn that off, please? Turn that off, please. That have won the title with Maurizio Gumilin and in 1985 and 2 years prior to Senna. In the end, he got his dream, and then through sheer talent, and was taking it only about 3 races in, which was just terrible. And then obviously qualifying follows tomorrow, and qualifying, it will be 30 years to the day that Ayrton Senna had that horrible crash at Imola, which claimed his life, and sort of changed the safety in Formula 1 forever. It made us all go into questioning, why did this happen? Why is it so dangerous? Why can't we make it safer? And that's where we tried to join. We tried to improve the safety that we have now. And this is why now we get Grosjean's accident, for example, and we managed to save his life. But unfortunately, we've had to pay the price of not just Ayrton Senna, many drivers, Jim Clark, Bruce McLaren, Francesco Baldini, Roger Williamson, Francois Xavier, and all these racing drivers that did one thing, which is love racing, and unfortunately, it claimed their lives. And in the end, now it's so much safer sport, but it's taken a lot of heartache to get to where we are now. Retro, what do you want to say on this, mate?
Yeah, F1, it's a big sport, it's a true god of F1. You said there, I read it there, I was reading it in my head. Reading it, he was a true legend of F1. If someone dies at that young age, that bringing up in F1, it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Ayrton Senna was not. The thing is, most people remember Ayrton Senna for his racing, right?
Yeah.
It's not just his racing; his charitable work for Brazil. He represented that flag for Brazil. He donated to his yearly fund. The amount of stuff he did to help underprivileged children, mainly, but to help the poor in Brazil when they were suffering all those social issues. And during all those social issues with riots and everything like that, everyone came together because that was the one person they could all come together and watch, Ayrton Senna. And he was revered. He was absolutely loved by his country, which is why the outpouring of emotion, the funeral. If you saw the funeral, it was like a state funeral. It was a state funeral. He got his own state funeral. That's how much they loved the guy.
Yeah, and
that's how much more of a racing driver he was.
You look at F1 today. Look at Grosjean last season, with his hands and his face, and his hands and his leg. That could end his career for Grosjean. Look at that.
It didn't end his career. He could still race again.
Yeah, but
he was already out the door. It was already out. Yeah, but it was already out the door anyway. He can still race. If he wanted to come back next season, he can still race. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
What's different with Grosjean's accident and Senna's is the amount of safety that's in it. Right? Back then, if you hit the cockpit, which is the carbon fiber the cockpit, which is like we've explained this before on other safeties. It's like a coffin, like an unbreakable coffin, right, that you sit in. So if the car has to disintegrate, it disintegrates. But the main shell of the car, which is the chassis itself that you're sat in, the cockpit you're sat in, will not break. Right? You could put a 50 cal bullet in there, it probably wouldn't even get through. But what was different is that with 94's cars, you had suspension pieces flying off. You didn't have wheel tethers, so the wheels came flying off, right?
Yeah.
And with his accident, if he had no broken bones, he had no bruises. If he had that piece of assembly that hit his head gone 6 inches higher or lower, he would have walked back to that paddock for the restart.
Yeah.
He would have never been in that situation, and that's just unlucky. And that luck's when your luck's run out. And but the difference is that those cars in them days, you could almost punch your way through it. That's how easy it was to break it. It was because it didn't have the technology we have now to make things safe. But like I said, and that's a poignant weekend we need to remember this weekend. And I'm sure the drivers will want to go out and give it their all to remember. Well, not just Senna, but Rowland Ratzenberger as well. So I just need to bring up FP2. FP2.
Yeah, it's F1's a very, very good motorsport to watch. It's big. It's big motorsport. It's been on for years and years, but it's brilliant. Like all the races that have now, like look at like Mercedes, McLaren. You've got all these cars that have like moved from like years ago to now. It's amazing the history you can look at on F1.
Well, yeah, the history side of it, you can, but the one thing that has been a problem since the new hybrid era has been trying to level the playing field, right? Trying to not have such a gap between first and last. And with these new rules in 2022, they're setting to do that. You see this season, the last qualifying session this season in the Imola, they were separated by the top 8 were separated by 0.5 of a second, which is not that. It's not. It's pretty. It's not that far off. You know what I mean?
No.
So yeah, they were. It's absolutely.
Man, isn't it? That's crazy.
It is. It's. I can't remember describe this. They're trying to make it like I said, as close as they can, and these new rules are probably a big aerodynamic reshuffle since 2009. Like 2000 now the front wing and the rear wing, you can't really develop that not much anymore. You're now going to be looking more towards ground effect. Now ground effect's great, but ground effect is something they need to be careful with because it can be dangerous if you push it to its limits. So they've been very strict with it. But you're going to see cars now not having to worry about following a car behind. They've done their tests on it and you're not losing so much downforce because the problem is when you follow a car behind, you don't get the same amount of air pushing on the front wing and the rear wing. So that means you would lose aerodynamic efficiency, which means when they go around the corner, they can go around the corner tighter than you because you ain't got the aero to be able to turn in and you're going to have to turn in more and understeer. So and you can't really up the level so that way you get the correct level when you're behind someone because if you up the level of that downforce, the more drag you get. So you can't overtake them anyway. So what they've done now is that you're relying less on those parts of the car and more on ground effect because then that way the test they've done is that you're not losing. For this season, you'd lose about 50 seconds behind 50% of your downforce. Next season, you're going to lose about 20%. So you're going to see him a lot closer and a lot more able to make moves and passes and this, that, and the other. But I'm just going to bring into FP2 bots. Just quickly share the screen again for FP2 right now. Let me see. All right, FP2 bot. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, Bottas quickest again as Verstappen and Stroll collided Portimao. Stroll again. Stroll. Yeah, Mercedes Valtteri Bottas headed his second straight session on the Friday of the Portuguese Grand Prix, but the action for FP2 was dominated by not one but two red flag disruptions. The first after Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri caught fire, while later in the session there was an incredible scenes as Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll collided spectacularly going into turn one. Gasly pulled up on the side of the track at the exit of turn 13, halfway through the hour and a half session, early for a rear of his AlphaTauri AT01 to start spitting out flames, with the marshals eventually putting the blaze out after it had been burning for a minute. In dramatic, it was a dramatic moment, but not as dramatic as what happened when the session restarted with 29 minutes to go. With drivers keen to get their qualifying sims done, Verstappen on his outlap let Stroll on a flying lap through at turn 14. But as Verstappen tried to outdrag Stroll down the main straight as he began his own flying lap, the pair collided at turn 1, with Stroll appearing not to register Verstappen's presence on the inside of the corner, and the stewards are set to investigate the incident. So they need to investigate this further, and no doubt there'll probably be a penalty if that's the case. Stroll's probably looking at a good penalty for that collision, with the way they're describing it. With the session restarted for the second time with just 8 minutes to go, most of the drivers headed back on soft tyres, with Bottas failing to improve on the original time he set of 1:17.9. So they're already going quicker than what they did last season, around half a second quicker than his FP1 leading time this morning. While despite the crash, Verstappen was able to finish second, 0.5 seconds slower adrift of Bottas, but having his fastest lap set on the medium tyre, not the soft. So, Ferrari having bought more updates. So there are a number of teams that have brought up updates for this Grand Prix. All right. Teams. Right. Right. I'm trying to find Yeah, so Ferrari, very simple. I'm not going to be talking about Ferrari in the Checker Flag Show. Ferrari has announced it would introduce further aerodynamic upgrades to the rear of its SF1000 Formula One car at this weekend's Portuguese Grand Prix, completing its 2020 development program. So is that it? That's not going to develop anymore. Ferrari has struggled for the... Oh, that's 2020. Fuck's sake. Why does it do that? I said 2021 for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Bloody thing. But yeah, there's a number of teams that bought updates, and that includes Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, because obviously people might also sit there, well, why are Ferrari bothering? Third place is a lot of money, so that's why they're bothering. Because third place is a lot of money to spend, especially now with your cost caps, right? And if you've got those cost caps coming, as a business like Ferrari that wants to win races, and you have the maximum resources that they've had beforehand, that they've had the luxury to have, they want to get third place to get that extra cash, because the cash is king, and you get more development, more parts to play with, right, and more upgrades to play with next season, in a season where it could be unpredictable as anything, to be able to predict if someone's going to be able to win this season next season. So you're going to need all the development time, all the money that you need to be able to develop these cars further.
You do.
So, but yeah, I mean, for me, as I'm looking at now predictions for this Grand Prix, my prediction, looking at that from those two sessions, it doesn't look like Hamilton's completely comfortable in the car for some reason. And I've got a feeling, though, that I've seen Hamilton be like this before in practice sessions and then come off all trumps the next day. Depends, and that's the thing. Depends, like weather conditions could play a significant part in it. I don't think there's any chances of rain. Yeah, so the weather, Formula One sets to return to F1 kind of for the second time, but later last year there was a smattering of rain at this race. Took his second 90-second Grand Prix. Right in front of. Excuse me, 2 seconds. Yeah, so this year Portimao hosts the third round of the championship, as it did rather than the 12th round in October. So, like I said at the start, this means the temperatures are going to be slightly warmer and less chance of rain. So they're predicting no rain for all these sessions. So Friday, 30th of April, FP1 and 2.
Fingers crossed.
Veil of clouds at first, and for FP2, light wind increasingly late in the afternoon. So even just the smallest wind change as well can be such a massive effect. Dry for FP1, a slight chance of showers for FP2 due to daily heating. So there's 20% chance of rain. There's no percent chance of rain for the qualifying or the race. Or FP3, mostly dry and sunny and dry sessions. Air temp slightly decreasing in the morning due to northwest wind bringing cooler air mass. So yeah, so in that sense, it's sort of ideal conditions for everyone to go racing. But like I said, with those conditions, with the way it looks like Hamilton might be struggling in this Grand Prix. But like I said before, he's struggled in sessions and still pulled out and done the business. So for me, I would say it's qualifying. I'd say Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Grand Prix win. Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen. That's my top three. And then fourth place, I'm going Lando. I mean, what's my fantasy? My F1 fantasy team. Right. So the F1 fantasy. If you've not done F1 fantasy, Right,
How you do it?
I'm gonna share the link in the chat for it, and you can join the F1 Fantasy League. Right,
Yeah, I
Because
might do that.
it's
I might do that.
yeah. If you know what you're doing, I'll definitely get into it.
So can you pick any drivers? Has it got to be?
You got a set budget, and you got to pick 5 drivers, and then pick a constructor.
Oh, right. Not bad. Yeah, I'll go with it in a minute. I've done this. I'll go with it.
So yeah, I'm just getting in now. So what have I got in my fantasy? I've got right. So I've got for the Portimao Grand Prix, I've got Hamilton, Norris, Russell, Sonoda, Leclerc, and McLaren as the constructor. So like I said, I'd say Norris was going to get 4th, Leclerc 5th, Sonoda was going to get in the top 10, Russell was going to get 12th or 11th, something like that. Yeah, that's my race week. And lobby. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's my prediction. What are you going for?
Wouldn't bloody hell. I'm going for Staffen for the win.
Qualifying first.
Yeah, qualifying first. Yeah. I'm going to say Verstappen. Hamilton.
Hamilton's not going to get his 100th pole.
No, I don't think he will. Depends on the
Okay.
race. If he races. Hamilton first. No, I'm going to do it. I don't know about so go Hamilton first. Sorry. Then Verstappen. Then Bottas.
Mm-hmm.
Then Vettel.
Okay, Vettel. Wow.
Yeah, Vettel.
Are you sure?
Or
He's struggling.
or for me fifth one, I'm gonna say George. I'm gonna say Russell.
Wow, that's a big statement because Vettel. What you got to remember, Williams are at the back of the grid,
Yeah.
and Vettel is and
Yeah.
Aston Martin don't look like they're struggling. They're struggling to be in the top 10 in a minute.
McLaren is it McLaren again?
McLaren and Ferrari are looking like the ones to challenge for the 3rd spot in the championship. To be honest,
Yeah.
so that's
For
why I
the,
went
for the big
Norris.
race, for the Sunday big race, they don't really won it yet. It's gonna be difficult to win on Sunday in the race when it's on.
You had to pick one. Pick one.
My prediction, I'm gonna say Hamilton.
Okay, so
Because
there you go.
I like Hamilton. It's a good driver.
I'd love to know everyone else's prediction. Please leave it in the comments below. Right, leave it in the chat or the comments below. We are going to wrap this up because I've got something to eat. Big up everyone that's watched. Do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Right, make sure you go check out Retro's channel, Retro NUFC, and go subscribe to him. We'll be back at 6 with the Checker Flag show. Right, so big up everyone, and we'll be back then. Until then, everyone stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.